President Barack Obama
Yes.
and serving as our active president. Um, you know what? This show has been able to accomplish a lot of feats, but I think the biggest one easily is having the president actually call in on this hip hop radio station that's owned by Eminem and Paul Rosenberg to speak to the people. And there's no other show that was able to do this, and I was glad that we were able to be that conduit to have the president on. Now, what we're going to do is play an edited version of the conversation we had because at the time he was campaigning for Hillary. So there's no need to really put that part in the interview any longer because it didn't help her. But this is what it. We're going to come back and play this interview that we did here on Sway in the Morning. We did it for you guys, the citizens. So tell all your friends that don't have SiriusXM to subscribe. 888-742-3345. They can go to SiriusXM.com and get the app.
Okay, we got it. Okay, you want to come over here? We got it.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Paint pictures.
Got it.
Big pictures.
Yep.
Okay. You got a lot of time. Yep.
I'm gonna come back and get you, Steven, in a minute. Okay, I'm gonna come back and get you in a minute. Yes, sir.
So, what time? I should say.
We're about to start. I mean, I'm about to hit the. We're live. I just put it on pause. We're about to start.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, girl.
Hey, baby.
How are you?
Good.
Good. I'm glad you're pushing me to do this because now we're going to be popping all the time. Now I know how to do this shit.
All the time.
Oh my gosh.
All the time. Okay, cool.
And he's stressing me. That's why I had to get quiet.
That's why I listen. I get it. I know exactly.
I was like, if you don't leave me alone.
Leave me the hell alone.
So, how do you want to be positioned?
Is there a way we can get somebody to turn that channel or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see.
I couldn't change that. I don't know if it's
So, which one is this?
this one.
Okay.
This is
I
for
just
that.
hit both of
Oh,
them.
you did? Oh shit. Okay.
Okay.
So
It went on both.
he's gonna come on that one. Do you know how to do it?
We're gonna figure it out.
Okay. Shooting the Wirecast. Check one. See, do this right here. Check 1 2. How about that? How about that? Can y'all hear me now? Can y'all hear me now? 1 2 1 2 1 2. It's working fine now. It's working fine now. That's what they say. I think if y'all can hear me, please comment. Please comment if you can hear this audio. It's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. How is it? Levels are good. All right.
Cool. Position it where you're gonna have it.
Hold on. You got it? All right, cool. Yep. I think you should be fine. You need to turn it up. You need to go to the Wirecast and make sure the headphones are up, but turn up the volume on the Wirecast, not the YouTube. Okay?
Okay. So, Mike, let me.
Where do you want to?
I feel like we should go on the other side.
Okay.
I mean, you may have more room.
Okay.
Or even right here. What do you think?
Doesn't matter. I was going to see if people want to watch the television.
Well, let me see.
Yeah, because you got to get him.
You go ahead and do it. Here.
No, come here. Look.
No, here. Give it what you think it should be.
What did you have it where he was? This is what it should be.
It needs to be. You got. It's got to face towards him. The
okay.
Facing towards you. So it needs to get this TV. This TV needs to be turned to that, so you can get him.
I'm trying to find the thing.
So you need something to maybe set it like.
This is the Samsung.
I don't see any buttons over there.
How about we do this? These boxes. Does that work?
Yeah. What up, Mike? On me. Something like this.
Yeah.
What do you see?
I see.
Oh, it's paused.
It's paused. Yeah.
All right.
Check the Wirecast, which is the thing at the bottom under there, all the way to the right. All the way to the right.
Hold on. Come on.
Oh, you gotta hit play on the stream also. It should be. Okay. Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Hit. Now the Wirecast thing to the right right of that. There you go. Yeah, there we go. That's what it should look like.
So now, Kel, you can just angle it where.
I need the other one of these remotes for this cable box.
And then, but the YouTube is the one that they're looking at, right?
A little.
So the YouTube is
press
playing.
Press live on there. Press live, all the way to the right. Yeah. There we go.
Okay.
There we go. That's it.
You see that? Maybe. You see how that TV is cut off? So maybe just angle it this way a little bit. Kel, maybe push it this way.
Yeah, let's see next so I can do my seat. Because I wonder if we can't get that television the way it's angled.
We just do it this way. That way?
Let me see. You know, so the screen will be filled with mostly TV and mic use. You're not talking into this mic,
no,
so
I'm not talking.
You don't need that.
This is fun. We're gonna remember this one.
Yeah, man. Well, fuck it. Once you get it up, it don't matter what happens.
It's gonna be great. I'm excited.
And I can't even feel in the back if it's Because I hit the one thing, and both of them went off.
All right, I'm gonna go get back. So
Okay.
I can say now that you live. He's up and live.
Yes.
Yep.
And they can hear him, right? Okay. You know what I'm trying to get that frame where that TV up top ain't cut
Right
off. Kills. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You see how this
Say it
TV,
one more time.
He's trying to get.
Let me call
He's
You
trying to
look
get
at
where
the
that
screen.
TV.
This
Gotcha.
TV is cut off, so just kind of move it a little.
Yeah.
So it's mostly
Coming out, he's
this
coming
part
out.
of the. Oh shit!
Get in there. Be conjured, man. And go for it. Now you can hear everything you're saying.
Oh shit.
What are people saying? They're probably bugging out.
Somebody called me a bootleg Heather B.
Oh.
Isn't that? And I was about to go at him because clearly, I'm like, everybody was like, "Hey, Heather B." I thought that was hilarious. So,
Hey, how you doing? We're in
Yeah,
Studio
maybe
6.
angle it down more.
Is there somebody, an engineer that
Yeah.
can come in here and help us out with the cable? We're trying to get the cable box onto the other monitor. It's like two different programs going on at one time. We're trying to get both monitors with the same program.
if that's gonna be perfect, if we can get
Yeah.
that. But I can't even feel like it's just any buttons. That's the crazy thing.
All right. You might just want to start whenever you want to start.
Okay.
And then they're going to come in and fix that monitor in a second.
right.
Okay?
Is this over?
You're good.
Oh,
You're good.
let's
You're
go.
live, bro. I know you're watching.
Yeah.
You're watching the delay, but you're live. You might want to watch the other You might want to watch the other view, Kelly, so you can see what's actually going on.
Okay.
Right here, I'll show you. Okay, these people are saying some crazy stuff, but this is the actual live video right here. There we go.
Oh, that's better.
Okay. Cool.
There we go. What's happening, Sway's Universe? Listen, finally we got it together after all those technical difficulties. Listen, it's the first time for everything. We're working out the kinks. Next time we do this, we'll be much better, and we won't take 4 years. So hopefully we'll be able to do this a little bit more consistency. I want to thank you guys all for tuning in, for just having some fun with this. This is our first time doing it. A lot of people are frustrated. A lot of people don't want to watch the inauguration. So we thought we'll come in and do a little different spin on it, do a little different twist, which I'm excited for. So I definitely want to thank Kelly. Shout out to Kelly Kincaid for getting this organized and pulling this through. It's not
Heather
easy. Yeah, she's not Heather B.
Hi.
This is Kelly.
I'm the supervising producer of the show. I also do First Day with Kelly Kincaid.
Stud.
Mike Muse. Let's go.
Let's go. So we are here. You guys have been following me. You guys have been along this journey with me doing political news with Mike Muse for like the last almost now 6 years now. And I thank you so much for taking this journey with me. I definitely have a different view on politics. I look at it differently. I see it differently. I see it from a very practical standpoint of view. And we just want to talk to you. We want to have some feedback. Please feel free to hit me up on Twitter if you want to engage with me and have some questions. Kelly's going to be following the YouTube page as well, where you guys can ask questions on there. Right, Kelly? You'll be able to follow it from there.
Yep.
So feed me your questions. We want to make this an interactive feedback. What we're going to do, give you the order of show. I'm going to just really talk about what's happening behind me. There's an engineer coming in right now who's going to adjust that television so you can see directly what's going on CNN. Followed by that, we're going to walk you through the program. After that, we're going to take a timeout and we're going to watch and listen together to Donald Trump's inauguration address. And we're going to see what he has to say to the country. After that, we're going to come back and we're going to get into what it is, because at that moment, he is no longer Trump president-elect. He is now the President of the United States of America. And what does that mean in his preparedness and his readiness? And what is he saying to our nation with our address? So let's just get into it. Let's start the conversation. I have been, thankfully, I've been involved with 2 inaugurations underneath President Obama in 2008 and 2012. I know what this feels like. And whether or not you are for or against Trump, this is America. The inauguration is the peaceful transfer of power. It is what makes America so special. It's what makes America so unique. The fact that we can come together doing a rigorous campaign, a rigorous fight, where things are said that are not pleasant. Actually, some things are said allowing a lot of Americans to feel uncomfortable, allow a lot of Americans to feel scared. This is generally the time of year where we're supposed to come together as one nation, put our partisanship aside, and watch this pageantry that is America. Watch this pageantry that is the liberties that have been afforded to us, and to watch the Constitution really at play. You see thousands of individuals, actually more, hundreds of thousands of individuals ascend into the mall of the Capitol to really witness this history. And I don't want to take anything away from those who are supporting Trump, those who love Trump, those who are really rallying for Trump. I know when I was rallying for my president for the 2 years, I remember getting up early, it's 4 a.m., so I can get my spot on the lawn, get my spot on the grass, so I could be first in play, so I can be first in line, so I can be first to the gate, so that I can take a picture, so I can be in perfect position. I was nervous, I was excited, I was thrilled. All the hard work in the campaign all came down to this. And I know that's what the Trump supporters are feeling right now. They're feeling thankful. They're feeling excited. They are happy to be there. They are happy to celebrate this individual coming and becoming their president of their United States. On the flip side, we have to give honor to those who are uneasy. We have to give the flip side respect to those who feel uncomfortable. There are tons of protests that are happening alongside this transition of peace. There are hundreds of protests that are happening tangential down the street, around the corner, in order to disrupt, because that is their constitutional right. They have a constitutional right to protest. They have a constitutional right to let this incoming president know they are not comfortable with what they're doing. They're not comfortable with what this administration is about. But that's also interesting. We're going to pick that up more so after Trump's speech to really dig deeper into why they're uncomfortable, why there is a disconnect. So we want to make sure that we honor those individuals who want to protest. That is their right. So what you see behind us is this incredible display of American pageantry at its best. You see presidents who are coming in. I think what we see right now is that's Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House. So she just entered the room. When I say the room, she's coming through the Capitol building. She's coming through the rotunda, and she's coming through what's called the crypt. The crypt is when you ascend that beautiful shot of the lawn of the Capitol, where they walk down the steps. That doorway is called the crypt, and so she's ascending down that crypt. What's most important to note is someone who also went down those stairs already, and that is Secretary Hillary Clinton. She is going to be the one to watch. So the figures to watch are Secretary Hillary Clinton, obviously President-elect Donald Trump, and President Obama. What is the body language of these three dynamics, of these three pillars? The reason why that's interesting is every president is required to attend let me take that back. They're not necessarily required constitutionally. What it states is that if you are able and you are healthy, you should attend. Basically, you're required. What's interesting is Bill Clinton's required to attend, but as his wife, Secretary Clinton isn't. So the fact that she chose to show up shows very much great strength. It shows the fact that she is willing to put her differences aside and to really show up for this transfer of power, this peaceful transfer of power. But one would question, does she need to do that? So I'd be curious to know your thoughts. Do you feel that, would you have judged her if she did not attend? And do you think by her attending, what is that signaling? Does that signal the fact that she believes in democracy? Or does that signal that she is not healthily dealing with it as a human? We're all humans. Just because we run for the highest office of the land doesn't mean that we don't have feelings. Doesn't mean that we don't have concerns. And doesn't mean that we don't have doubt and question ourselves whether or not we should do it. I am of the opinion, I'm glad that she did show up. I know it was a tough decision for her, but I think it shows a signal that she is strong, that she won't be defeated, and that she is here to support the democracy. And I think it signals to her supporters who have had a difficult time wrapping their heads around President Trump having the reins and actually the access to the codes for the nuclear code system. People are uncomfortable about that, but she's letting her supporters know, listen, I'm supporting this guy. Not so much supporting this guy, I'm so much supporting the presidency. I'm respecting the Oval Office, and you should too. And even if you don't agree, maybe now is our time to offer up resistance. And what does that mean? Take action. Get involved with your communities. Get involved with your cities. We see President Trump has now taken the platform. He has now taken the podium. He has walked down those stairs. And people, let me tell you, there is nothing more humbling that I can imagine. Not that I've ever walked down those stairs. There's nothing more humbling than to walk down those stairs and to watch on the mall approximately 900,000 people waiting for you to receive the oath of office. Walking down the stairs knowing that you're going to be the most powerful man in the United States of America. Knowing that you had not only your nation to be concerned about, but you also have the youth and the children, which are our soldiers, at your hands. You have their lives at stake. You have the ability to protect our nations that we have alliances with. You have the ability to create peace or to create war. in an instance just by your words, just by your voice. And I guess in this instance, folks, just by your tweet. So how can you not be humbled by that? You know, Trump has done this big, boisterous applause in terms of who he is and having this really big, you know, mantra of hear me out, I know all things, I have an ego, I know what I'm doing. But I guarantee you that's going to change. I don't think that he will be able to maintain that bravado for too much longer. You can't. The office of the president just overtakes you. What we're seeing now is that we're seeing an introduction by the Honorable Roy Blunt, who is overseeing the inauguration. Usually every year there is someone who is a chairperson of the inauguration, and the Honorable Roy Blunt, the senator from Missouri, is greeting the crowd. He is greeting the crowd on what we should expect. The theme of this inauguration is Unique America. And what I find is what's interesting about that theme entitled Unique America is that there's uniqueness with the Trump supporters. They're not necessarily Republicans. They're not necessarily Democrats. And he himself isn't necessarily a Republican. He is a unique political figure that has ascended to the highest office of the land. He has a unique constituency group that has supported him and has championed him through, controversial at best. But nonetheless, he is unique. And so I find it curious that they're able to tune into that and to really say that this is the theme, a unique America. What's also striking to note as I watch and as the camera pans to the crowd is how empty it is. In previous inaugurations, whether it's for Obama, whether it's for Bush, the crowd is thick. It extends all the way through the mall. There's a lot of open space behind there. Trump can't see that from his vantage points. But I'd be really curious of what his response is, because you guys know everything is huge. It's big, it's great, it's huge, it's great, it's big, it's huge. This is going to be the hugest inauguration ever, he claimed. This is going to be the most attended inauguration to date. He can't see it from his vantage point, but the crowd on the backside of the mall is empty. I have never seen it that empty for any president's inauguration. And I'm wondering, how is he going to take that? How is his ego going to feel? And that's what I mean, folks, I said earlier, is that he's going to be humbled by this. There's no way that you can continue with this bravado knowing that you don't have the majority of support. Oh yes, here we go again to that tricky area of the popular vote. He has lost the popular vote by almost 3 million voters. That alone should have humbled him to show that he doesn't have a blanket ticket to govern how he chooses, that he has to understand that there is some conflict. He has to understand that there's some dynamics going on that isn't in his control, that people do resist him. And now it's evident that the lawn is not as packed as he would hope for it to be. That's going to be what we need to watch out for to see what is he going to say with that. I'm curious about that. Let me know what your thoughts. Hit me up on Twitter at I am Mike Muse. Mike Muse, M-U-S-S-A-M-E. Leave some comments on YouTube on the comment section. My assistant for the day, Kelly Kincaid, she stepped out just for a minute, but she's going to be checking the comments and checking the feed. I would love to get your feedback. We want to make this a very two-way kind of conversation. As we see right now, the camera is panning to some B-roll shots of President Trump and Governor Mike Pence, well now Vice President-elect Mike Pence, sitting. And you can see President Trump, the look on his face, he feels it. He feels the magnitude of what is happening right now. So man, this is exciting time. I remember my first inauguration. I was looking in awe on the dais. I was in awe at the history that was going before us. No matter how I felt very proud to be an American in that moment. I felt proud that this is living history. I felt proud that when we talk about democracy and what it means, this is really at play. You know, sometimes in America, we don't realize that we have royalty. Our president of the United States is almost royalty. We see these amazing coronations when a king or queen from another country receives a coronation. And we've also been able to witness the spectacle of a pope's passing. And we've also been able to witness the pageantry of electing a new pope with the conclave and with the smoke and the chimney, and everyone's out in the Vatican Square. Well, this is our moment. This is what makes America so unique. The pomp and circumstance of all of these things coming together with the celebrations, with the concerts, with the parades, with the hundreds of thousands, in some instances of previous administrations, particularly President Obama, 1.8 million people ascending on the mall to watch this man, or hopefully in the future, a woman, recite the 35 words of the oath of office to receive the highest order of land. All coming together for that one moment. What's interesting to note is that now what we see right now is happening is Cardinal Timothy Dolan. He is now on the dais giving readings and invocations. Every inauguration, there is moments where there is poetry. In this instance, we're not going to see any poetry reading, which is very fascinating. We're going to pick that up later because what Donald Trump has signaled is that he wants to get rid of the National Endowment for the Arts and Humanities. Think about that. He wants to get rid of the organization and the agency that really controls the arts in America, that has a trickle-down effect to our children, to our youth, and to our educational system. So for him not to have a reading isn't so much a shock to me, as it's kind of on course to what is that he's believing and what he wants to eliminate. Inauguration is all about signals, people. It's all about signaling what is next for this administration. It's about signaling what's to come. It's about signaling where this administration's position is. And to be honest with you, that's what makes us a little bit more anxious about this whole scenario, is that we don't know what his positions are. We've heard him say on the campaign trail that he wants he wants to build the wall. He wants to eradicate NATO. But literally we hear at the nomination hearings for his Secretary of Homeland Security say that he doesn't believe in building the wall. He believes in a more integrated immigration system, and that alone isn't effective. We've heard from his Secretary of Defense, General Mattis, state that he believes in NATO. He believes that if NATO gets replaced, you have to replace it with something. So those right there are stark contrasts to really what he believes. So that's what's going to be curious, and that's why we're anxious. It's not so much it is in part the rhetoric that he has, the inflammatory rhetoric that he stated during the campaign, the divisiveness that he's caused during the campaign, but it's also just the not knowing. I honestly don't know of any other administration, Democrat or Republican, where at 12:01 we are so unsure of what this president is. Yes, the president's cabinet is going to disagree with him. It happens all the time. But the difference about this disagreement factor of it is it's only by a small margin of disagreement. They may disagree on how to achieve it, but they don't really fundamentally disagree on ideology. These appointments that he's done to his cabinet disagree with him fundamentally on ideology. So when you have a cabinet that is opposed to your ideology, what is the governance? What is the direction of this campaign? That is what we can't call. Also, we're going to talk about, do a deep dive later in, is the readiness of his administration, of the fact of has all his appointments been filled. We're going to talk about that a little bit later after his speech. We want to be able to figure out and understand what it is that his speech is about, what it is he's going to say, and what it is that he's signaling. The other thing that was going to be interesting to watch on this inauguration is President Obama. And the moment that I think a lot of Americans, I don't know if has really wrapped their head around. I don't know if Americans have really wrapped their head around the scene that's going to take place shortly, where President Trump, he's elect still for about 15 more minutes. President-elect Trump will then escort President Obama and the First Lady and the First Family to the backside of the Capitol, where then they will walk and get into the helicopter. And the helicopter then will take them off up in the sky, and they'll be off to their vacation. And then that is when the Obama administration is formally over. I don't know what America's going to feel in that moment. That is truly when he's all on his own. That is when Obama's legacy has completely come to an end and it completely has stopped. That is what we need to watch out for. I'm curious to see what that's going to hold. Also, too, I'm curious to see who's coming up next in Samuel Rodriguez, who is the National Hispanic Christian Leadership Conference. He's a reverend. He's a doctor. He has great success. Clearly, he has a wonderful following. He's been politically involved. What's interesting to note about him, though, is that what will he say? What will his position on unity be? What will his position on Hispanic population and immigration? What would that be? Keeping in mind, immigration just isn't a Mexican, Hispanic, Latino issue. Immigration is an international issue. There are millions of immigrants from across the globe who try to make their way into America. But for somehow we have focused our eyes just on Mexicans specifically, and that just isn't accurate. What's interesting is that the largest growing number of immigrants trying to make their way into the United States is the Asian population. But we don't talk about that. We don't talk about that. We don't talk about any crossings of our northern neighbors of Canada. We don't talk about that. We don't talk about the European immigrants who are trying to make their way in, who arrive on a visa but then decide just not to return. We don't really talk about that. I think that's a question that we have to begin to ask ourselves is why? Why do we just only allow the face of immigration to be Latinos? That's what makes the selection of the Reverend Dr. Samuel Rodriguez so interesting. For that, signaling immigration, but also, two, Trump hasn't appointed a Hispanic to be a top-level secretary in his cabinet. This is one of the first times in recent history that a Latino has not held a space in the cabinet position. Now, I'm not saying they're not going to be in his administration. And we may see some deputy secretaries and some undersecretaries and some directors of some agencies and some divisions. But this is the first time that Latinos won't have a seat at the table. Think about that. This president wants to signal unity. This president wants to signal being the president for America is all America. But how is that possible when your cabinet isn't diverse? It isn't reflective. Every president on down has, in order to build bridges, in order to bring unity to the table, they not only have had a diverse cabinet, blacks, women, Asians, Hispanics, but they've also had the opposite party. So Obama, for instance, he brought in Republicans to be in his cabinet. That is how you really do this peaceful transition of power in terms of helping and aiding in that. That is how you signal that you want to work across the aisle. The Republicans, when they've been held to office, they have brought in Democrats to be in their cabinet. That's what I'm saying. So they have actually nailed, folks, this theme of unique America. They have nailed it from a perspective of it is unique. It is different. It's not the same. This isn't going to be politics as usual, as my boy Jay-Z says. But we're in for a different dynamic. A dynamic that I just can't call. I can't call it, folks. And for me, that's what makes me unsettled. Also makes me unsettled is that last night, Donald Trump, he had a candlelight vigil. He had a candlelight gala dinner last night at Union Station in Washington, D.C. And when he got up there, he began to talk about how smart his cabinet is. He also talked about that at the lunch that he had at Trump Hotel. We're just going to talk about that too in a minute. But he began to talk about how uniquely positioned his cabinet is. You know how he says it. Best cabinet ever. Best, the smartest, best cabinet in history. The cabinet with the highest IQ. That's what he said. The cabinet with the highest IQ. Rick Perry. Think about that. We'll come back to that in a second. But on top of that, my phone's buzzing. On top of that, he brought in Secretary of Agriculture Perdue. He used to be the former governor of Georgia. The governor of Perdue has great success in fertilizer. He has great success in being a great businessman in fertilizer, but is that actually farming? I'll be curious. Any of our fellow citizens down south, any of our fellow citizens in the country, any of our fellow citizens from Georgia who actually own farms, would you say fertilizing is farming? That's more chemicals. That's something to think about. But he said he's the best person for the job because as Secretary of Agriculture, he understands it because of farming. That's why he put him there. That's why he positioned him, because he is the best. All right, I'll talk about Governor Rick Perry. Let's bring him into the conversation for a second, if you don't mind. What's interesting about Governor Rick Perry from Texas, who is now going to be the Secretary of Energy, this is the same gentleman, I kid you not, it is the same gentleman, when he was running for president, not this cycle, but the previous cycle, he wanted to eliminate this department. He wanted to eliminate the Department of Energy. He said it wasn't needed. It was excess waste. He has now appointed Governor Perry, Secretary of Energy, who just now realized the vastness of it, who just now realized that he will be overseeing our nuclear arms. He will be overseeing our nuclear arms, people. He'll be overseeing our base. He'll be overseeing all the things that are nuclear. How serious is that? As Secretary of Energy, he will also be overseeing, not so much overseeing, but he will be a point of contact into the conversation of energy of the nuclear Iran deal. Now, follow this thread here. Trump says he only gets the best. He has the ones with the smartest IQ. That's why he got Perdue to be Secretary of Agriculture. But yet, he has Governor Rick Perry, who wanted to eliminate the Secretary of the Energy Department, who just now realized the scope of it. Follow me here. The previous two administrations of Obama's 2 terms, the most immediate one was a scientist. He actually was a nuclear scientist who understood what was at play. The one before that, a Nobel Peace Prize winner. A scientist who understands science. A scientist who understands energy. A scientist who understands nuclear energy on top of that. So we already begin to see the contradiction of Trump's administration and his appointees to actually in terms of what he has. My girl Kelly Kincaid, she's come back. Kelly, is there any comments that are happening right now on YouTube or anything that's happening?
I want you to talk to the people who are saying that Trump is not their president. Like, we're talking about, for those giving kind of some information, Trump is our president for 4 years. And what to say, like, how do you guide those people? Because he is the president. You can't live in America and not kind of respect that order. We've put him in the office.
That's true. And I'm glad this is, and I'm glad you guys are asking that question and you guys are feeling that way. He is our president. And let's clarify some things. There is this way that we in the media have mischaracterized what this election has been about. And now it's time to insert Russia. We've heard individuals say that this president isn't a legitimate president because of what happened with Russia and what happens with the hackings. We have to be able to nuance that out. What happened at the ballot box, Russia had nothing to do. As of now, there is no evidence to support any reason that Russia had any meddlings with the ballot box. So then therefore, every vote that was counted, that was cast and counted, that went for Trump is a legitimate vote. The rules at play when we began this election cycle, and it's always been this case, is that it's electoral college that determines the winner, not the popular vote. We can talk about that at another time and whether or not we need to get rid of the electoral college, if we should really only be governed by the popular vote, if that should be the main indicator. But to this point, Trump, through the votes cast, the votes counted, he received the most electoral college votes to win. Therefore, that makes him the legitimate president. Now, we can talk about the Russian hackings. Did Russia have meddlings with our election to interfere? Absolutely. Our intelligence community has strongly come out with reports to state that Russia had meddling in our election in order to influence the outcome of the election. Did it work to their advantage? Some would say it has, some would say that it hasn't. But the most important thing how we need to frame that is he is a legitimate president because of the fact he won at the ballot box and he won the most electoral college. So we have to break Russia down from the perspective of Russia attacked us in an active war vis-a-vis cyber. We need to have a deep dive into how that happened. We know why it happened and what is going to be more of a measured response going forward. President Obama has already issued some sanctions, and he's already kicked a number of Russian diplomats, 35 to be exact, out of the country to head them back to Russia as part of our retaliation, along with some other things that we just don't know that has occurred. So we need to look into Russia as a whole. But he is, in fact, our legitimate president. That may not be comfortable with a lot of us, Kelly, but we have to be able to look at it from that perspective.
Over here. I want to give a thanks, everybody, for watching. A couple of people, Rail and Dear Eartha, they want to go, Mike, can you talk about gerrymandering and if that had an effect on Trump's win and what the public can do to change that?
Man, those are some great questions.
That's Dear Eartha and
what up, Dear Eartha? What up, Dear Eartha? And what up, Rail? Gerrymandering is a real dynamic at play, and I'm so glad you brought that up. That has a lot to do with the census, and that has to do with a lot with our local and our state level politics. Gerrymandering isn't the result of what happened to Trump in this election. That has more to do with what happens with our Senate and our House of Representatives, who are then sent to Congress. But in terms of the national level, in terms of our president, gerrymandering didn't have anything to do with that. The Electoral College, follow me here, can get a little complicated. I don't want to get too deep into the woods of it. But what happens is we go vote as a state. Let's say New York State. That's where I'm located at right now. In New York State, we all go to our polling locations, our polling places, and we vote for our president, candidate that we choose. Essentially, whoever gets the most votes in that state, the popular vote of that state, then gets the designated electoral college number that is assigned to that state. And then that's, once they get the 270 mark, that's when they become president. Gerrymandering happens when you have Congress. What happens is, Kelly and Terrell and to Heather, is that the governors and the state legislature and the state representatives and your state senators, they do what's called this redistricting. And they do it in order to rezone that is more favorable of the district to their constituency. So if I'm a Republican and I control the state, and I also control the state legislature, particularly in the governorship, if I see a district that could lean Republican and can take it away from the Democrats and we're in control, I can literally redraw the district so that the odds are more in my favor, so I'll get more votes who are more likely to side with Republican values and Republican ideals. Once that district is redrawn, then that changes the shape and the makeup of the House of Representatives that are then sent to Congress. So gerrymandering happens more so within the congressional level for House of Representatives and for senators.
I'm looking at a few people who are on here watching it, and I'm curious to see if you're watching the inauguration and said, I didn't vote because it's like picking your oppressor. Fuck it.
Yeah.
And to all those people, I'm curious, like, what would you tell those people? They have 4 more years to kind of watch what this does, to change, like, their vote does count. Yep. We talked a lot about that all this year during the elections, how their vote does count. Like, what things should they look for during this new term with Trump?
Yep.
To decide, like, maybe in their local, like, registering to vote.
Yes.
You know, start there.
Yeah. I'm so glad you asked that question, Kelly, and for the individual who called it the oppressor. That's really a deep question. And that's actually a deep sentiment that you're feeling in terms of that you look at them as your oppressor. What you're feeling now and the frustration you're feeling now is something you have to deal with as an individual who didn't vote. We have to realize that our vote does count. So you may not have liked the best. You may not have liked neither candidate. A lot of people felt that way. And there is this notion of the lesser of two evils, yes. But for the next election cycle, I want to be solution-oriented, Kelly. I want to help you understand how you should go about it for the next election cycle. And what we try to talk about on the show is pick one issue that matters most to you. Whatever that one issue is, figure out which candidate sides best with your ideas on that issue.
Right.
And that's the way you have to look at it. Because as we've seen now with these appointments that have come out, the president actually appoints attorney general, which has a trickle-down effect to you on your local governance in terms of police force, police brutality, criminal justice reform, judges. I mean, there is this national mandate that actually happens on a very localized level. The selection of the Department of Education, it's a very controversial choice because Betsy DeVos is a very pro-charter. She's actually at her hearing saying that she wants to defund public education. Wow, we all are a product of that. Whether or not we went through public education school system, whether or not we have children, whether or not we have neighbors who have kids who are in the public school system, for the Secretary of Education to say she wants to defund the public education school system, that has effect on them. But then it also has a trickle-down effect on if our children aren't being educated, Kelly, then how then can we expect them to be productive citizens? Right. How then can we expect them to be educated so they can get a job? So it has some real trickle-down effects. So to sit out doesn't do anyone good because it comes back to hit you. You know, and we're 5 minutes away, Kelly, too, from the president being sworn in too at the same time.
And you know,
we have time though.
Some of these people, Dear Eartha, Karina Dunn, Mr. 95702, you got to have them call in on Wednesday. Oh, yeah. But they're also talking about how it's important to really pay attention to the midterm elections too.
Yes.
Just in voting, talking about being involved in your local elections. They're saying clean out Congress at midterm. You know, I think it's very important to educate yourself because I think a lot of people are sad today.
Yeah, they are.
But it's a reality that he will be President Trump in a few minutes.
Yep.
How do we move forward? And I think it's a great thing that you're breaking down this, talking about the local. And what about the midterm elections? That's in 2 years, correct?
Yes, in 2 years.
For a lot of different states. And how can they find information about that? From after when we end this stream, like where can they go and find like information in the particular states?
Yes, it's a great question because that is if you are not a Trump supporter, that is the best way to prepare the resistance to go against Trump and the best way to stop his policies. Because as right now, Kelly, and to all those who have chimed in, the Democrats do not have the numbers. They don't have the numbers in the Senate or in the House of Representatives to block or stop anything. So for the next 2 years, it's going to be a free-for-all for Republicans and for Trump to have basically a blank slate and a blank mandate to do whatever it is that they like. So as we begin to think about what's next come Monday morning, begin to look at who it is piping up, who is positioning themselves to go for that race, really rally around them. Don't sit that one out. Don't play they're your oppressors. Find that one issue, that one idea that makes it so, right? And I feel like behind me, Kelly, there's a big moment that's about to happen.
Yeah.
So this is the moment now where Donald Trump is about to take the oath of office. He has positioned himself. He has two Bibles, folks. One Bible is for a Bible that his mother gave him when he was a youth. And the second Bible is Abraham Lincoln's Bible. So here we go. This is the moment, folks. Let's watch together.
That I will faithfully execute. That I will faithfully execute. The office of President of the United States. The office of President of the United States. And will, to the best of my ability. And will, to the best of my ability. Preserve, protect, and defend. Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution of the United States. So help me God. So help me God. Congratulations, Mr. President.
Well, there we have it, folks. He is no longer President-elect Trump. The elect has now been dropped off. He is now President Trump. And this is now his America. This is now his Constitution. And President Obama is officially the former President of the United States of America. First Lady Michelle Obama is now the former First Lady of the United States of America. This is an emotional day for a lot of individuals who have close ties to the President and who have ties to the First Lady, who have been big supporters of the Democratic Party. They are really saddened right now about what it is. We have a 21-gun salute that is happening right now. That is in honor of the president. This is a big moment. This is his moment. He won the right to have this moment, whether we like it or not. He won the 270 votes that was needed to become president of the United States of America. President Trump, folks, now has access to the nuclear codes. He knows the codes now. He knows the codes. This is his Constitution. This is his America. These are now his wars. This is now his NATO. This is now his ISIS. This is now his immigration. This is now his healthcare. This is now his military. So, folks, we're going to listen to his presidential address that he's going to have. We're going to pause the live stream. We're going to come right back after he's done to really talk about what it is he's going to say. Things to pay attention for, and we're going to highlight is what is he signaling? What is he signaling in his address that we need to look out for and how he's going to govern? So it's been an honor and a pleasure talking with you guys. Keep tweeting me at I am Mike Muse during the speech. I'll respond to you, and I'll take notes, and I'll answer your questions on the live stream, and we'll continue it going. So we'll talk to you guys in about 25 minutes.
You can watch it with us.
Okay.
We will confront hardships, but we will get the job done. Every 4 years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power.
Yeah, you lose them.
And we are grateful to President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama for their gracious aid throughout this transition. They have been magnificent. Thank you.
Folks, we're back. We're live. Actually, we're not going to pause.
Today's
We're actually going to watch the
ceremony,
speech
however,
together. I'm actually going to engage with you and talk to you and kind of help characterize some things.
Because
We got a special
today,
guest that's kind of in the room.
we're not
Two
merely
special guests, actually, in the
transferring
room.
power
But the main guy,
from one
Mr.
administration
Sway
to another,
Calloway.
or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. Politicians prospered, but the jobs left and the factories closed.
Still campaigning?
The establishment
Yeah, it sounds like he's still
protected
campaigning.
itself, but not the citizens of our country. Their victories have not been your victories. Their triumphs have not been your triumphs. And while they celebrated in our nation's capital, there was little to celebrate for struggling families all across our land. That all changes starting right here.
We talked
and
about
right
that,
now,
the crowd shots and how
because
empty it
this
is.
moment is your moment. It belongs to you. It belongs to everyone gathered here today and everyone watching all across America. This is your day. This is your celebration. And this, the United States of America, is your country. What truly matters is not which party controls our government, but whether our government is controlled by the people. January 20th.
If I got my phone handy, keep tweeting, keep letting me know your thoughts, keep letting me know your questions. Only when I respond back to you while we're watching it together, but when we come back after the speech is done, I'll address them all right now on the live stream. So keep the action and engagement going, folks. At I am Mike Muse,
The forgotten men and
M-U-S-S-A-M-E.
women of our country will be forgotten no longer. Everyone is listening to you now. You came by the tens of millions to become part of a historic movement, the likes of which the world has never seen before. At the center of this movement is a crucial conviction that a nation exists to serve its citizens. Americans want great schools for their children, safe neighborhoods for their families, and good jobs for themselves. These are just and reasonable demands of righteous people and a righteous public. But for too many of our citizens, a different reality exists. Mothers and children trapped in poverty in our inner cities. Rusted out
Inner city
factories,
code again.
scattered like
He loves
tombstones
this
across the landscape of our nation. An education system flush with cash, but which leaves our young and beautiful students deprived of all knowledge. And the crime, and the gangs, and the drugs that have stolen too many lives and robbed our country of so much unrealized potential. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. We are one nation, and their pain is our pain. Their dreams are our dreams, and their success will be our success. We share one heart, one home, and one glorious destiny. The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans.
Okay.
For many decades, we've enriched foreign industry at the expense of American industry, subsidized the armies of other countries while allowing for the very sad depletion of our military. We've defended other nations' borders while refusing to defend our own.
I'm watching your comments, folks. Keep them coming. Thank you.
And spent trillions and trillions of dollars overseas while America's infrastructure has fallen into disrepair and decay. We've made other countries rich while the wealth, strength, and confidence of our country has dissipated over the horizon. One by one, the factories shuttered and left our shores. with not even a thought about the millions and millions of American workers that were left behind. The wealth of our middle class has been ripped from their homes and then redistributed all across the world. But that is the past. And now we are looking only to the future. We assembled here today are issuing a new decree to be heard in every city, in every foreign capital, and in every hall of power. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. America first. Every decision on trade, on taxes, on immigration, on foreign affairs will be made to benefit American workers and American families. We must protect our borders from the ravages of other countries, making our products, stealing our companies, and destroying our jobs. Protection will lead to great prosperity and strength. I will fight for you with every breath in my body, and I will never, ever let you down. America will start winning again, winning like never before. We will bring back our jobs. We will bring back our borders. We will bring back our wealth. And we will bring back our dreams. We will build new roads and highways and bridges and airports and tunnels and railways all across our wonderful nation. We will get our people off of welfare and back to work, rebuilding our country with American hands and American labor. We will follow two simple rules: buy American and hire American. We will seek friendship and goodwill with the nations of the world, but we do so with the understanding that it is the right of all nations to put their own interests first. We do not seek to impose our way of life on anyone, but rather to let it shine as an example. We will shine for everyone to follow. We will reinforce old alliances and form new ones and unite the civilized world against radical Islamic terrorism, which we will eradicate completely from the face of the earth. At the bedrock of our politics will be a total allegiance to the United States of America. And through our loyalty to our country, we will rediscover our loyalty to each other. When you open your heart to patriotism, there is no room for prejudice. The Bible tells us how good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. We must speak our minds openly, debate our disagreements honestly, but always pursue solidarity. When America is united, America is totally unstoppable. There should be no fear. We are protected. and we will always be protected. We will be protected by the great men and women of our military and law enforcement. And most importantly, we will be protected by God.
Mic drop.
Finally, we must think big and dream even bigger. In America, we understand that a nation is only living as long as it is striving. We will no longer accept politicians who are all talk and no action, constantly complaining, but never doing anything about it. The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. Do not allow anyone to tell you that it cannot be done. No challenge can match the heart and fight and spirit of America. We will not fail. Our country will thrive and prosper again. We stand at the birth of a new millennium, ready to unlock the mysteries of space, to free the earth from the miseries of disease, and to harness the energies, industries, and technologies of tomorrow. A new national pride will stir our souls, lift our sights, and heal our divisions. It's time to remember that old wisdom our soldiers will never forget, that whether we are black or brown or white, we all bleed the same red blood of patriots. We all enjoy the same glorious freedoms, and we all salute the same great American flag. And whether a child is born in the urban sprawl of Detroit or the windswept plains of Nebraska, they look up at the same night sky, they fill their heart with the same dreams, and they are infused with the breath of life by the same almighty creator. So to all Americans in every city, near and far, small and large, from mountain to mountain, from ocean to ocean, hear these words: you will never be ignored again. Your voice, your hopes, and your dreams will define our American destiny. And your courage and goodness and love will forever guide us along the way. Together, we will make America strong again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you. God bless
President
America.
Donald Trump concluding about a 16-minute remarks there in a speech that...
All right, folks, we are back. First of all, the engagement that you guys have had on our YouTube channel while we're watching that has been amazing. I took a lot of notes. I'm glad that you enjoy that we call you out by name, that you help feel engaged into the conversation. Dre Taylor, I'm really happy about the question that you asked about how much power can this president really have. I definitely want to address that. Yes, I do say the word people a lot, as well as contextualize a lot too as well. So you get a chance on my personality and how I do things. So I'm going to give it back to Kelly, who will be able to help me call you out by name and help you engage. We have another special guest who's in the room with us, Tracy G. Tracy G has stopped by too as well with us to offer some insight and some commentary on what happened. She may say, she may not say. It's her prerogative. She's had a long day on air. But wow, what a speech that we just watched. What a speech that we just heard. for what is going to be, who is now our president. He is President Trump. Whether we like it or not, he's no longer elect. He's President Trump. And what we heard was a lot of signaling in terms of what he's going to govern, Tracy.
Yeah.
I heard, Kelly, the spirit of who he is that really came out in the speech. Some things that really took to note that let's talk about that I want to kind of highlight was, I felt in the first half of the speech was very dark. I felt it was very dark in terms of the perspective on his favorite word. You know how I like to say contextualize. His favorite word is inner city. He brought that back up again. He talked about the inner cities. He talked about the crime in the area. He talked about the safety aspect of it. So it's really dark. And usually inaugural address is supposed to be uplifting.
Right.
It's supposed to be to make you feel good. It's a feel-good moment. It's not really a moment that's supposed to be impactful with policy.
I felt like I was about to get drafted into a war.
Yeah. That
was kind of the sentiment.
And you felt that way in the first half. He kind of presented like this kind of dark negative cloud on where we almost like a State of the Union address, but from a very clouded, nuanced perspective that wasn't really uplifting. But then I felt that the second part of it, he started feeling more about talking to the individuals who have been in the shadows. That's been Trump's number one supporters, is those who feel hidden. Those who feel unspoken for, those who feel that America has forgotten them, the forgotten ones. He kept mentioning that a lot too as well. I thought we began to pull out, and then that's what we began to hear.
Do we know
Then I
who
felt-
those people are? The forgotten, like, in your opinion, Mike, who are those folks? Because you'll hear a lot of people who feel like that is just a pseudonym for, you know, the white American who wants to see this entire country be like whitewashed, you know? But am I right to even think that, or is that just coming from a very emotionally sensitive place on my part?
I think it's part emotion, but it's also part fact too, how you think that. There is a part of the forgotten ones, the hidden ones, those who've been forgotten about, that is his white rural America. But that really isn't his only base. That's the base that's more the energized aspect of the Trump base and the Trump supporter, but that isn't really what makes a coalition of the Trumps. The coalition of the Trump supporter is those who are educated, those who have really great paying jobs, who have homes, and who have high net worths. So he really spans the spectrum of that. But then after really addressing the hidden aspects and those who feel hidden and forgotten by America, then he kind of brought us out to the second half, which really was about infrastructure. And then that's when we got to what we hear more of a typical inaugural address on the big plan, the big agenda, the high hope that you have for America and how you see it. We heard a lot about infrastructure. That's going to be his main play. Building bridges, rebuilding our roads, and really focusing on airports. And I hope the first stop that they really focus on is LaGuardia Airport here in New York City, because it is awful, Kelly Kincaid. Followed by that, I felt that they became then religious. I felt like it was a more religious tone, right? I felt like it was a more religious tone than I'm normally used to. An inaugural address, he invoked God a lot. And that was something we really didn't hear Trump talk about a lot on the campaign trail. We really didn't hear a lot of his religious constitution and really what it was. To be honest with you, I was surprised that one of the Bibles that he actually had was a Bible from his childhood from his mother. Not that one judges anyone's religious constitution, who they are, but I just never heard Trump really talk about it from that aspect of it. So to me, that was a little bit of a surprise hearing him talk about religion. Then I'm talking about religion, then he got really patriotic. This was really about red, white, and blue. And he really talked about that, no matter if we're black, no matter if we're white, Tracy, we all bleed the same. We all bleed this old blood of patriotism. And he really invoked that. And I thought that was a little bit different than what we heard from inaugurations in terms of making us feel that we're all one. And then he wrapped up in true brand strategist fashion that he is, which allowed him to ascend to the 270 votes. He really talked about Make America Great Again. He really brought it home from this patriotism. Make America Great for him is more of a patriotic tone, but it also is code language for a lot of individuals who feel that it's taken us backwards to a place where we all weren't equals. It takes us back to a place of uncomfortability with civil rights. It takes us back to a place where folks were denied their right as Americans to coexist. It takes us back to a place where those who weren't really allowed to make economic growth and to have prosperity and to have homes and to have that income of wealth, equity that we all can share as Americans. So there's a split nuanced interpretation of what does it mean to make America great again. But then he doubled down, Kelly, and talked about make America safe. You know what I mean? And then buy America, build America.
It was slick talk. Slick talk. Mike, I know we were talking about voting, how people can still during this 4 years in the midterm get involved. Kim Maxwell said, Mike Muse, love how intellectual you are. You really explain things in a way we can understand politics. Because of you, I actually went out to vote.
Oh, wow.
Kim Maxwell.
Thank you, Kim
That's
Maxwell.
dope.
I appreciate you, man.
That's dope, right?
Hit me up on Twitter, bro, at I am Mike Muse, man. Let's stay engaged. But Kelly and Tracy, and man, this is why we're here. This is why I love politics.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that we had a caller who called in earlier, and he said the reason why Gustavo, that's you. If you're still out there, if you're listening, hit us up or hit me up too as well on Twitter. You mentioned that you thought you didn't know enough about politics and you weren't informed enough to really make an informed decision. And I think that's a misnomer. I think that we as Americans have put so much emphasis on this highbrow, high intellect of having to know the intricacies of what is a Congress, what is a House of Representatives, what is the Senate, what is the Supreme Court Justice, what does the Constitution say, what does it mean, and what does energy mean, and what does nuclear energy mean, what is a two-state solution, and who is ISIS, and where are our enemies, our foreign interests, and you know what I mean? It's like, we don't need to know that.
Right.
And look, if you should, and if you do, great. But if you don't know it, that's fine too as well. That doesn't make you any less American.
You don't need the knowledge of a president in order to participate
exactly
in politics.
You don't. Right. All you need to do is just believe in something, whatever your belief is. To be honest with you, folks, I'm going to be all the way candid with you. As much information I know about politics, I'm glad that you guys enjoy how I break it down, how I talk about it. You know the reason why I voted? It's very simple. It literally came down for me on who was going to appoint the Attorney General.
Oh, wow.
That's all I cared about. I'll be honest with you.
Can you even break down, what is the Attorney General's role?
It was important for me as a black man. It was important for me as a black man seeing all that was happening to black men across the country and across America that was getting shot on social media and murdered and seeing nothing done about it. And understanding that whoever's going to be our president has the ability to appoint the next Attorney General who would then hand down issues, or who had more so not hand down, but has the ability to open up investigations when local police forces generally don't continue an investigation. Why? Because they're in bed with the local district prosecuting attorney. The local district attorneys are in cahoots, and I see you nodding your head too as well. You're familiar with this. They're in cahoots with our police. They work hand in hand in order to help solve crimes that get prosecuted. So how can a district attorney adequately, without bias, prosecute their own police force that they actually depend on to uncover evidence in order to try people on their cases, in order they have a winning record so they can go on to become mayor or governor of a state? It's all embedded and it's all twisted. So then what happens is the federal government can kind of come in and open up its own federal investigation, which is independent of that. And we actually saw that happen in Ferguson. We actually concluded the reason why Ferguson was such an issue, it was such this moment of combustion, if you will, is because there was an over-policing that was done by Ferguson. The the Department of Justice issued a report that stated Ferguson Police Department was over-policing and pulling young people of color over, in particular, to give them tickets, Kelly. But they knew they wouldn't be able to afford the ticket, so then they would get a bench warrant. And then next time they got pulled over again, they would have to go to jail. All along, in order for them to get out of jail, they had to cover the bench warrant, and then they had to cover the ticket. So it was essentially raising money for their budget. The federal government came in and said, this is wrong and something must be done about it. The federal government then opened up an investigation to Baltimore. We've seen what happened in Baltimore with that case. They opened up an investigation and said, Baltimore, your practices are outdated and you need more training, and now you're going to be under the federal guidelines, to which Baltimore agreed to. Then Chicago. Chicago now has accepted the fact that their training has been old videos of old police training for a while. That's why the Attorney General for me was so important, because yes, it's national, but it also affects your local level. So folks, when I say, I literally practice what I preach. Find an issue that you care about and then take it from there. But I think we got another question or comment.
Yeah, so we were talking about Trump's speech. So Sigmeyer says, inauguration speeches don't actually mean anything. They're only noteworthy if they're made during times of great strife, like during a world war or something like that. For now, he's just appealing to patriotism.
Actually, I would...
Sigmeyer.
I will agree and disagree. Policy doesn't really get handed down from inauguration speech. The point of inauguration speech is more so about, to uplift and to give context. But I actually took a note, Sigmeyer, and what was telling for me, I guess you want to say news, that was kind of made was when he started talking about our alliances. He said that he would reinforce old alliances and form new alliances. Sigma, I want to say that again to you. He's going to reinforce old alliances and form new alliances. Let's break that down. What does that mean? Reinforce old alliances. His whole campaign speech was that he wants to eliminate NATO. He doesn't believe in NATO. For those who don't know what NATO is this treaty agreement that we've gone in with a lot of European nations as well to state that we support each other, we're allies of each other, we're allies for trade, and we're allies in terms of war, if you will. Meaning, if one gets attacked, we all get attacked. So then we all have to come to the table. The reason why NATO was really tricky right now if he wants to pull out, because that's when Russia has a play to come in and take over. Because Russia, Putin, what he really wants to do is expand his territory. And so there are some eastern countries along the eastern Baltic Sea, if you will, that he wants to essentially bring back into the Russian fold and geographic, but they're under NATO. So if we back out of NATO, we tear up that treaty agreement, Putin can then go into those three countries unprotected, capture those countries, make them part of Russia, and there's nothing we can do about it because we're no longer part of NATO. His Secretary of Defense, Matty, said that he actually supports and agrees with NATO. So by Trump saying he wants to reinforce old alliances, it sounds like NATO might be in play. Also, it's not like NAFTA still might be in play too as well. NAFTA is North American Free Trade Agreement. We've seen Trump tweet about GM. We've seen Trump tweet about Ford in terms of Ford is building a $1 billion plant operation in Michigan. Really called out GM for supposedly building a plant in Mexico, and he's going to impose a high border tax on them. He can't do it because of NAFTA. So it sounds like he wants to keep NAFTA in play. But the other interesting part about that was that he wants to form new alliances. I don't know what that means, Kelly Tracy G. I don't know. I feel like that. I don't know if he's talking about Russia. You know what I mean? Like that's part I just don't know in terms of what that meant. But I thought that was news for that. I keep bringing you in, but what's
Stephen Graff?
Yes. We have a millennial that's in the building. Young black man, come in here.
While Stephen comes on, and maybe you all can speak about this. Split Sniper 7 said, "What's the biggest issue you believe President Trump will tackle first?"
Yes. The biggest issue I think President Trump will tackle first is he's going to skip. Well, he's not going to skip. He's going to attend the parade, but he won't be at the parade long. And the reason why he said he won't be at the parade long is because he wants to go into the White House and he wants to get business done. And that's going to be executive orders. So his first step is going to be executive orders. He's going to repeal a lot of executive orders for President Obama. What those executive orders are, we just don't know. He hasn't signaled to us what they are. But I'm sure the first thing is going to be Obamacare. So through executive orders will be Obamacare, and then through Congress and legislation, Obamacare will be top of the agenda for Republicans to kind of come through. So now we have Stephen, who is here. Yeah, we wanted Stephen here because he's obviously just a great guy in general. Friend of the show, friend of the program. Smart and talented, but obviously a millennial, young, definitely interested in politics. And, we didn't want to bring in like another political expert, right? We don't want to bring in analysis. We really want to bring in individuals who are like me, who are like you, who are just trying to figure this out, right? Who just want to have an understanding of what this inauguration means, what this Trump means, and so we can kind of get it through together. And I thought it was great to have you here, to have your point of view, as a young man who's kind of going through this process, living out here in New York, who's just curious about what is life going to be like at like 12:30, 1 p.m., 2:30. Yeah. What's your thoughts, bro?
I'm not from New York, but I'm from Charlotte, and so just visiting.
Same thing, not really, but the same
really, at this point, it's just one place. I find it interesting, kind of the elephant in the room for millennials right now is the fact that nobody's talking about climate change. Nobody's talking about the environment. Nobody's talking about energy, what that really looks like. And so that's a scary part to see this man, who's standing here, who didn't mention anything about climate change, who didn't mention anything about job security. He said creating jobs, but what does that really look like? And I think that's something that is still kind of ambiguous for us.
Yeah. It's fun that you point in terms of that. I felt like he talked about that when he got to infrastructure. But the thing when you talk about infrastructure, though, it's such a broad scope. Infrastructure normally only means roads, bridges, tunnels, and airports. So it's really difficult to talk about that. See, what I will say was interesting to me, I took notes on when I felt like he made news. I think he made news when then he began to talk about industry and technology of tomorrow. And I thought that was news for us to be made because in the campaign, Trump was really talking about manufacturing. and in particular into the rural Rust Belt of America, into the coal mining West Virginia area of America. He really didn't appeal to technology. He really wasn't talking to Silicon Valley. He thought Silicon Valley was the others, you know, if you will. So I found that really interesting that he began to talk about industry and technology, and he sees those are the jobs of the future. But I wonder what those who are his voters, and Tracy G, we were talking about that earlier in terms of who are his voters. Those voters who are in rural America really care about manufacturing jobs.
Right.
The reason why manufacturing has gone away is not really due to any economic policies that one can blame on President Obama per se, but it really is just the advancement of technology has simplified the processes. I'm an engineer by degree, industrial engineer particularly. So this is what my training was, right? My training was to really do lean manufacturing. And just so you know what that means is essentially we will go into a plant. Let's take GM. No shots fired. GM's going to use you the example. Any big three, whether you're GM, let me be equal. Whether you're GM, Ford, Chrysler, Toyota, whatever it is that you have to do, we would come in and we would figure out ways to automate the system. You know, back in the day where a lot of these rural Rust Belt voters come from, particularly from Michigan. I'm originally from Lansing, Michigan, the car capital, one of the car capitals of the world. It was all, one job can be done by 10 people. You will have 10 guys working on one part at a time. What happened was once we began to automate, we went through a lean manufacturing system to scale it down. How can either A, a computer, or B, a process be put into place that we only need 2 individuals? So then therefore 8 has lost their jobs. Because if you only need 2 individuals, you can get it done more efficiently and more cost effectively so that it has a better impact on the bottom line. So when you really begin to peel the layers back, it's really because of automation. It's really due to technology that has caused a lot of manufacturing jobs to kind of go away. And to be honest with you, Toyota has been a front runner on lean manufacturing. We get a lot of the things that we get done from Toyota. And then the inventory system, first in, first out, last in, last out, right? So all this whole manufacturing thing. So when you really begin to do a deep dive of that, that's really what's at play. So I'm just curious about, is it going to be a conversation with rural America, quote unquote, manufacturing America, whatever that means, in terms of technology, right? And does more so, Stephen, do we need to begin as America look at it from preparing rural America, the Rust Belt, the manufacturing cities, for the training that's needed to convert over to technology for manufacturing in that capacity?
I would agree. I think kind of Roland Martin hit on it in one interview. He was interviewing the gentleman from Breitbart, or from All Right, and he was saying that, you know, we're preparing, we're training the people in the inner cities, as Donald Trump likes to call it, preparing for those jobs. So I think it's kind of one of this upgrade moment. Like, you can't take those same skills that you used to have 14 years ago and then apply those today. You gotta go learn how to use a computer.
You do.
And I think that's something that's scary for a lot of people who are in rural America who've never had to use a computer and are forced to now do things that they've never had to do before.
Yeah. Steve, I don't want to interrupt you in a minute, but I think we're about to have that moment that we have all been dreading for.
This is that moment.
As Americans. We're going to watch this moment together.
Here for the departure of
this is departure. This is the moment that I don't know if America's really prepared for it to handle.
You were mentioning that this is an uncomfortable moment because there's a conversation that happens between them, both the president now and the former president, President Barack Obama. There's an interesting conversation that happens. What's that like?
This happens before he takes the oath of office.
But even now, is there no conversation that happens?
No.
Okay.
No.
At this point, it's already.
Yep.
So
let's watch this moment together.
This is a symbolic moment.
This is a very symbolic moment for American history. This is when the President Obama becomes former president, goes off into the sunset, and the transfer of power begins.
The Bidens get on the train. They have the best commute in Washington for a power couple. They get on Amtrak and ride it to the second stop, I guess, Baltimore and then Wilmington. And Joe has been doing that throughout his Senate career and also his vice presidential time.
Hugs and kisses all around.
So the Bidens go first as the vice president, being escorted out by Pence, who is now the vice president Pence.
Very, very close bond there.
And the Bidens will get in the car, and they will get back on the Amtrak, which is Joe Biden, Uncle Joe, has always commuted and used as mode of transportation.
Keep writing the same check. Yeah. I'm going through that process now.
So we're seeing a transfer of power from Vice President Biden to now Vice President Pence.
First. A motorcade.
He's going to be setting up shop a couple places, University of Delaware and Penn. Essentially at Penn will be sort of where he'll pursue some interest in international affairs and University of Delaware, some domestic.
And a lot of Democrats will continue to look at him and wonder what if.
Or what could be. I don't think Joe Biden is done. You know, there was a time when people thought that if you're in your 70s, you're not going to be, it's going to be tough to run for president anymore. Donald Trump got elected at 70.
And the oldest,
at 70 years old.
70
He is. He'll be 78 in 2020. Donald Trump was
Do you
74.
kind of think this reverses the fact
I have to say, I didn't think we would have
having a
three
younger
straight
president
baby
like President Barack and then now having a
let alone, I
70-year-old?
guess, technically four.
No, I don't think voters cared about that.
Don't
I don't think voters in this issue cared about age because we looked at Bernie Sanders. We were willing to have a Bernie Sanders, so I don't think it's about age per se.
And 78.
Tom, I think there's going to be a lot of run, Tom, runs for you there. So you never know there, buddy.
This is one of those scenes I just don't think we were all really ready to, at least personally speaking.
The fact is,
This is one of the tough ones
what
to
they've got
have.
to do is find the next generation of leadership in the Democratic Party. Even with
I
new
remember,
ideas.
Steve,
And
I was,
the same way Bill
oh,
Clinton
here we
came
go.
up, And Joe Biden, in fact, was part of that reinvention of the Democratic Party. That's the case before the Democratic
I
Party.
have some energy. Kamala
All right,
Harris,
folks, here's
the
the moment.
senator from California. Chris Murphy, the senator from Connecticut.
The mama's
They have
being
some very
escorted out.
talented young
I think
people,
you can expect
but
a lot
they
of
don't
tears
have
now.
the talent
Yeah.
of that couple. President and Mrs. Obama are uniquely gifted, and so there's always going to be
Wow.
a gap between what follows them.
And President Obama just kind of seems to be taking it all in. As
I'm curious what Michelle Obama is thinking right now. It's all in her face. It's really in her face.
By
And
helicopter.
her posture the whole
And
day.
then
Yeah.
a short distance to
It's really tight.
A
The
joint
body
base
language.
entrance to board.
You haven't seen her smile much. She's normally smiling.
VIP Air Force jet. It will not be known as Air Force.
She said
One,
she's
but
taking
Air
this
Force
very
jet
emotional.
nonetheless.
She said she's
It's in
surprisingly,
California
it's
for
been
vacation.
more
He's like
emotional than
looking
she
at some remarks
anticipated.
there,
So this is where they're gonna go
staffers,
off.
former staffers.
Yep, so they get in the helicopter and they fly over the Capitol. It's going to fly over the mall.
Nostalgia.
And here we go.
Couldn't have been easy at times to hear some of the things said in that speech. But the former president has taken the high road, certainly in this transition.
Here's a lead paragraph in the Wall Street Journal today. After 8 years in office, Barack Obama has a market record any red-blooded American capitalist could be proud of. U.S. shares have soared, oil prices have come down, borrowing is cheap, profits are up along with the dollar. Even those who bet against
went in for the
President Obama
handshake.
made
Yeah,
good
she
money
wasn't-
with returns.
she
in
wasn't
their
having
investment. Now,
She went
that's
in
the
for the
investment
handshake.
group. But along with that came jobs. We know that there has been a recovery. It's imperfect. It's got holes in
Here it is. Oh wow.
But the fact is, it's not nearly as grim as the speech that we heard here today.
He was speaking to the Peggy Noonan Unprotected today.
And let's take in this moment as the former
All right, folks, here we go. The final salute.
Oh my
There it
God.
is.
And the last time that we expect he will board
Wow.
that helicopter and make that wave. Chris Jansing is out.
That was
It's
there.
all
He's
yours,
from,
President Trump. It's all
the
yours.
Capitol. What have you
President
done
Obama, you will be
there,
missed. I definitely salute you for your service and what you've done for this country.
Absolutely.
You've been amazing.
Love the Obamas, supported the Obamas. They now begin their post-presidential life.
Mike, that was one of the most chilling experiences that I think I've experienced in life right now.
Yeah, it's difficult to watch.
Yeah.
This is officially the end. This is officially the end of an incredible 8-year journey that President Obama has led Americans on. This is the end for a lot of Americans who felt impassioned to be a part of the political process, to be a part of this political journey. Seeing them close the doors to the helicopter is very chilling. What's going to happen now is he's going to fly over the Capitol. He's going to go over the crowd. He's going to go to the Joint Air Force Base, where he would then get into the military airplane that is no longer called Air Force One for him anymore. And him, the First Lady, and the First Family would then go out to vacation. We're rumored here in Palm Springs for somebody that's really deserving. Tracy.
Do you think that he's still going to keep his Donald Trump Twitter name, or he's going to solely use the POTUS?
Great question. So he will still have his Donald Trump Twitter, but now is a formerly POTUS at POTUS
Right.
is now Donald Trump's Twitter handle.
Okay.
So now all the tweets have been archived historically for
The president.
for the archives of the presidential library.
Wow.
Yeah. So what we're seeing right now is a wave goodbye.
I can't believe you knew that, Mike.
Yeah.
You know everything.
He's so smart.
I spoke to President Obama a little over a week ago, who said to me that he thinks.
I remember
the country's in a better
actually,
place than when it
Tracy and Steve and Kelly, I remember being there in '08 when Bush flew over us in a helicopter, and there's a lot of cheers and boos in the crowd. Because if you remember, Bush wasn't this well celebrated towards his end of his presidency. A lot of people blame Bush for our wars. A lot of people blame Bush for economy straits. And in comes this new, fresh idea of hope and change, this young man, and people are excited for it. So the flyover was very emotional, if you will, in terms of cheers and like excited that he's leaving.
Right.
So I'm expecting the same reaction from that crowd. That they're excited when he flies over, that they'll be excited that he's leaving.
So are they going directly to vacation now?
Yep. They're going to go straight from to the Air Force Base, and then they're off to a well-deserved vacation that they need.
The kids with them?
I am assuming they are. But what's interesting, you don't know. I actually thought about that the other day.
Why didn't they attend this inauguration?
You know, I think they probably didn't want them on display. This isn't their inauguration. This is Trump's inauguration. They were there for both their inaugurations, but
as minimal as possible.
Yeah, there was no need to expose them to that. And he's off. Wow. President Obama is now the former President Obama of the United States of America. I don't think we ever really prepared to handle that former part.
No.
See, now he's flying over. He's flying over the crowd. Flying over the crowd. And he's going to circle around. I wonder what are they thinking right now. Because the speech was a difficult speech. It was really a testament to what Donald Trump feels they did wrong. And so I thought that was,
you can tell by the emotion,
was challenging inauguration speech. All that they did wrong, and now it's going to be made right. I don't think that's how you want to go out.
Trump is such a rapper.
Yeah.
Petty rapper, beef.
And I think that's why you saw the expression on the First Lady's face.
Yeah.
The tightness of the jaw, the structure, the tightness of the body language.
Because it sounded like a campaign speech from the beginning.
It did.
Like he's back on campaign again.
Yep.
Yeah.
He did.
Trying to sell the American people again.
Wow.
What would you tell former President Barack Obama in this moment right now? Because I would be at a loss for words. I could only do body language.
You know what? I mean, I had a moment just you saying former president.
That was a moment. Former.
I had to pause.
Yeah.
Are we still there?
It's, you know what? I would just tell him, job well done.
Yeah.
There's not much you can say except job well done. You were an incredible president. I think history is, we always said that later on in history, the history books will conclude that he was one of the best presidents that we've had.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see that much more sooner. You know, there's that saying in a church community, especially at a funeral time, they say, give you my roses while I'm still alive. Right? And I think that he's going to be able to experience and smell and feel his roses while he's still alive.
Okay.
I think we're going to feel the impact of his legacy much more sooner than we did. We're already seeing that right now with Obamacare. Obamacare is already trending at its highest level of popularity than we've seen ever, even when it got started. And so for the first time, the favorable flipped higher than the unfavorable. And we're going to see now the Republicans, it's your America now, have a difficult time really not, it's going to be easy for them to repeal it,
Right.
but they're going to have a difficult time replacing it. It's going to be hard to tell 20 million Americans that you're going to be off the roll. And people thought that it could be this delayed. Republicans said, we'll repeal and delay. But the Congressional Budget Office came out and said that if you delay, 18 million people will be off insurance within 1 year.
Wow.
Because the insurance market, 1 year.
Wow.
Because insurance markets will bail out. There's no confidence. Because in order for us to pay for these premiums and pay for pre-existing conditions, we have to charge high premiums.
Yeah.
And we're not getting any subsidies back from it.
Right.
So the Republicans are going to be in a difficult place. And also Republicans. It's easy to repeal. You guys are going through this whole tricky thing through budget, not to get too deep into the weeds here. But the challenge with that now is they can repeal it, but in order to replace it with something, they have to have the majority of all Democrats on board to agree with the replacement plan. and Democrats aren't going to give them that.
What will resistance
So now
look
we're
like?
stuck. Resistance is Democrats not signing on for any replacement. That's going to happen. So Democrats need to threaten them with that notion of we're not going to replace it. You don't have our support.
In history, has there ever been a time that the Democrats have done something that Republicans as in general were like, yeah, that was actually dope? I feel like no matter what,
Yeah.
it's always going to be like,
Party
I don't
line.
rock with this exactly because
Yeah.
I'm waving the other team's flag.
Tracy G, that is such a great question. No.
No.
This is the first time America, during Obama's presidency, was the most divisive America we've ever seen. Which is interesting because at this time right now, 8 years ago, Senator Mitch McConnell was saying that we're going to block anything that we can and we're going to say no to President Obama no matter what. All from the ability just to get reelected in order to gain control of the White House again. So that created this spirit of division and divisiveness that didn't allow anything to get done. Republicans and Democrats have always had, I wouldn't say the best working relationship, but they always had an ability to come together. But it was something about this president, and I'm going to leave it right there. There was something about this president that made those individuals want to be so divisive. Kelly, I feel like you got something for us.
Yeah, a few people on were questioning what happens with Obama now as far as Secret Service. What happens, like, being that he was the 44th president of the United States, like, is he still protected for life, or what happens?
Great question.
Yeah.
He is protected for life.
Oh, wow.
And not just because he's a president, but because every president is afforded Secret Service protection for life, including his children. So when Malia goes off to college next year, she will have Secret Service protection. So they will have it for life, no matter what. To always be protected.
Is it obligatory though? Like,
yes.
Oh, you have. Okay.
It's constitutional. It's constitutionally they have Secret Service. So even Carter had Secret Service. President Herbert Walker Bush, he has Secret Service. His son has Secret Service. Clinton has Secret Service, and now Obama has Secret Service too as well for the rest of his life.
And you said everyone in their immediate family?
The immediate family. So First Lady and then the two children will have Secret Service protection for life from here on out.
So if you're a part of the Secret Service, okay, who's the oldest former president who's still alive?
Carter.
It is Carter.
Bush,
Okay.
Didn't they say Bush was?
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's a great point. Yes,
Yeah.
Bush is, I think, like
Oh, the
90
oldest.
something.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, over.
Age-wise.
Yeah, deference wise is Carter. Good point, Kelly.
Yes.
That's a Greekism. Deference. We have a cap in the building, an AKA in the building. We pledge. That pledge life. You're here. So that deference. Sorry. Yes. Oldest is Bush.
Right.
Deference is Carter. Shout out to the Newts.
So the reason why I brought both of them up, because it kind of, this can fit for whomever. Is,
Oh, come on in, Tracy. Yeah.
All right,
come in.
Hi, citizens. My face is still here. So the
We're
reason
glad
I-
your face is here.
And this is out of curiosity, and maybe this is a gossipy question, but hey, I handle Celebrity Wire. If you are the Secret Service agent who is in charge of protecting the body of Carter or Bush, is that seen as like a bullshit gig? Like you could be doing anything else. Like, is it like you got in trouble, so they're like, all right,
Or
you gonna be-
retired.
right?
Yeah. No, actually.
Okay.
Interesting enough, those are great questions. We're getting into the weeds of it. This is why it helps to have an insider here.
Insider.
Yeah.
The plug.
I actually have a lot of friends who are Secret Service.
Okay.
And so the thing called PPO,
Uh-huh.
that's a Presidential Protection Order. That's their detail. So usually the president's detail is like the honored detail. So it's those who put in their work, who put in their time. They're seeing as really great Secret Service agents. No shots fired to any other secret agents. You guys are all fantastic. You guys are all amazing.
Yes.
But to be on the president's detail is a very special detail that you have.
So the more
And
rookie
so-
members are on the.
No, actually,
Wow.
the less rookies are normally on the president's details. You normally find
Wow.
more seasoned individuals on the president's detail. There are some
That makes
outliers
sense.
who do kind of get into the ranks of the president's detail, and then it kind of goes into the layers of then do they lead a detail, right? And what I mean by that is, let's say President Obama is going to come up here into the studio next week, whether he's former or current president.
Yes.
About 2 months out, Secret Service, the lead Secret Service agent, will come in here and it will assess the security parameters
Oh.
of the building, of the space, of the room. They literally have his walk down to pacing per minute. So it will take 5 minutes to get from the corner to the door. From the door to the elevator would take 35 seconds.
How many exits are
From
in
the elevator to this will take 2 minutes. He will arrive here in 30 seconds. And so they have it down to a detail, and they have all the surroundings, all the hidden points. I mean, it's a very calculated step. So an appearance by any president isn't just an appearance. That's a very calculated step that was created 2 months ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And so then those agents who retire, the presidents who become former presidents, they don't have a busy travel schedule. Right? And so, wouldn't that be a good detail to have? Right?
That's not bad.
Where you get a good check, a good salary.
I get why that's an honor.
Yeah, you kidding me? Yeah.
For the rookies, I'd be like, I don't want to be Trump's bodyguard. I might get shot.
Yeah. I'm personally like, I'm going to just be on the retired president's detail.
Yeah.
Because that's a great question you asked. I want to get back to Dre Taylor. Dre Taylor, you asked a great question. I hope you're still there in terms of how much power does this president actually have? That's a great question, Dre. Constitutionally, there are checks and balances within our government system so that there is no dictatorship. There is this big misconception that the president, with a stroke of a pen, can do any and all things, which is why a lot of people are frustrated with President Obama. They thought that he had this magic wand where he can just do all things, and he really can't. When we hear talk about executive order and action and the power of the pen, that's only for federal agencies. That's only for federal employees. That's only for federal territory. That isn't a stroke that handles and affects all of Americans. So thankfully that we have the Senate, thankfully we have the House of Representatives, and thankfully we have the Supreme Court to offer the checks and balances. So there will be some checks and balances in power that will be established. The challenge, though, Dre, with this is that the Republicans have a majority within the House of Representatives and in the Senate. So essentially there's going to be minimal checks, if you will. It could be a situation where it's the perfect triage, where the White House, the Senate, and the House of Representatives are on alignment for a policy and a bill. And if that's the case, anything goes. There may become an instance where Republicans in the House of Representatives may disagree with Trump. They can block any policy and legislation. So it's going to be an interesting dance for the first 2 years to figure out how well in concert are they. And how are they acting in terms of getting policy and legislation passed? And so that's a really great question. That's something to really pay out attention for to figure what's going to happen.
What do you see Bernie Sanders' role in all of this for the next 100 days of his first presidential election or his first presidential season?
Yeah, that's a great question. Bernie Sanders is going to play an active role in the Democratic Party in terms of how he wants the party to govern. He and Elizabeth Warren are the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. They're going to try and push the party as far left as they can. What to pay attention for is in the end of February, the Democratic National Committee will hold their will hold elections to figure out who will be the next DNC chair. Essentially, that person will govern the Democratic Party. And Bernie has his horse. His horse is Ellison, who is a House Representative from Minnesota. Was a big progressive. Bernie has been supporting him from day one through his name in the hat. So that's a great question because, peep game, if Ellison becomes chair of the Democratic Party, this essentially becomes Bernie's party. Think about that. If the chair of the Democratic Party is a Bernie guy, who's been nominated by Bernie, who's been lobbying by Bernie, getting support from Bernie, getting fundraising dollars donated to him by Bernie, all the Bernie supporters are rallying for him, that's Bernie's party at that moment.
Wow.
Checks and balance, Dre, Taylor. Obama, right? And let me not say Obama. Those in the Obama wing and those in the Clinton wing, Hillary Clinton wing that is, are all rooting for Tom Perez.
Okay.
Tom Perez is a former secretary within the cabinet. So if Perez gets the chair, it stays in Obama's court. Right? So then Obama's legacy continues on and is protected. If Ellison gets it, it's Bernie's court. And as we all know, Bernie and Obama didn't necessarily lock up with their ideology. So we could see not any undoing, but a taking his legacy in a completely different, more progressive way than Obama originally wanted. It's
so
a
like-
chess game, folks.
Right?
It's
I
chess.
see.
Gotta
It's
make sure all
chess.
the
It's
cockroaches
chess.
are killed.
Yeah. We're playing chess out here. So that's something, but we'll know that by the end of February, Tracy.
Yeah. Okay. Moving into more of a pop culture slant.
Hop in.
Oh,
I'm about to
thanks.
head out. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
Thanks
you
for coming,
so much,
man.
Tracy. Good to see
Yeah.
you. Thank you guys. We'll see y'all later.
Okay, so
I
we're
gotta get back to Charlotte. See y'all
Okay,
later, guys.
which
Thank
is
you.
New York,
How
right?
can people
Which is
follow
New
you?
York.
How can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at the Ecopreneur, TheEcopreneur.
You have to be smart to follow him because you have to
do.
spell that.
Yeah.
Right? I can't.
The Ecopreneur, and you can see me on Facebook at Stephen Braddock the Fourth.
Nice.
Thanks,
The
guys.
fourth.
Yeah, the Fourth.
Ooh.
Ah, fancy. The
I'm
Thanks,
fourth.
guys. It's good to see y'all.
All right, take care.
Hey, bro. Merry Friday. Okay, so my question,
Yes.
bringing in the celebrity world, what do you think about Lady Gaga being banned from mentioning Trump's name during her halftime performance? Like, is that a form of taking away my right to freedom of speech?
I actually think that it is.
Uh-huh.
But there's two ways to look at it.
Okay.
I personally think it's limiting her right to free speech.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, and as you know, Tracy G, when you do any contractual obligations, especially with the NFL, who brands themselves as a family-oriented sport, in
Right.
particular when it comes around the Super Bowl, there's always that moral clause, right? It's not just a moral clause, there's always a clause in there that says, if you do this, then we have the right to either A, stop the show, or you may not get that other 50% on, you got the 50% deposit, but you may not get the other 50% that's due to you, or however they work out their contract. But normally there's a deposit that's made, as you
Right.
know, and then you get the rest of it on the back end later if you don't abide by these clauses. So I think what the NFL is trying to do in lieu of what's happening in the previous Super Bowls is trying to cut back on that and not really politicize it. But it's interesting you raise that question, though, Tracy G, because you know me, there's always layers, there's always a chess match, there's always something going on here.
Absolutely.
The question is the NFL Democrat or Republican?
Right. And that's why I'm wondering, maybe like in this contractual agreement, it says you cannot bring up any type of political reference.
Yeah.
And so people just interpret that as, don't bring up Trump's name.
Yeah. So I love sports.
Right.
Right? And to me, there's no better way to talk about social issues and policy than through the lens of sports.
Huh, okay.
When you break down the NFL from an owner-player perspective and the fans, right? The owners are generally white males.
Yeah.
Older, definitely more affluent,
Mm-hmm.
definitely more of the 1%. Let's look. The owner of the Jets is Johnson.
Uh-huh.
He is now being named as ambassador to the UK underneath Trump's administration.
Wow.
Let's look at the coach.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Let's look at the coach Belichick from the New England Patriots. He was at Trump's dinner last night. He's Republican.
Right? Because the all-American man
Mm-hmm.
loves him some politics with a side of sports.
Exactly. You look at the players, the dynamics of the players,
Yeah.
it's a mixed bag of demographics.
Yeah.
Right? And there's also those players come from different regions of the country.
Yeah.
So there's the SEC, which is more your Southern collegiate schools. You have your Big Ten, which is more your northern schools. Then you have your Pac-10, which is more of your West, your West Coast. You have your ACC, which is more of your East Coast. Now I'm going in a little bit now on this one. But generally you recruit nationwide, but you generally tend to recruit from within your region, within your area. And so you can't suspend your your views because your region generally tends to shape your political views. Your state, your city usually tends to shape it. So with all those dynamics at play, the players are a little bit of a mixed bag of politics. But those normally at the top are more of your affluent 1%ers, and those are the ones who really control the NFL and the narrative.
You should be a consultant for Scandal.
I know.
Make sure everything is as accurate as possible.
Hey, Trace, can I go further?
Yeah,
Can I go
please.
further? The other thing was, what's so interesting what came out about the Star Spangled Banner and whether they can kneel, whether or not it's patriotic or not. The United States Army and military paid for advertising. So when you see soldiers coming out, when you see the Star Spangled Banner, when you see the Air Force jets flying overhead, that's a paid advertisement for Army and the military.
I cannot deal.
That's advertising that's going towards the NFL.
That's not like tradition and like.
There was a moment the players never came out for the Star Spangled Banner.
Oh wow.
But once those checks started coming in, then it looked different. Now, I'm not going to say it's not patriotic. I'm not going to say that at all.
Right.
But you have to follow the money. And then you have to begin to ask questions. I'm not saying anything, folks, but it's up to you to ask questions. And Tracy, I like to say, I like to lead you to the water, but it's up to you to drink it.
Exactly.
Right? It's up to you to taste it.
Right.
It may be water, it may not be water.
Oh,
it may be cold, it may not be. It may be hot. It's up to you to determine the water for yourself.
Oh. So then you know what, Mike Muse? I have 2 questions.
Yes.
All right. So I want to...
Ready.
Okay. I want to kick off with asking this. So there's a lot of people who are still marching the streets, who are still protesting pro-Obama, in complete, full, thorough opposition of Trump.
Yep.
Is that just a means of venting, getting off your chest, like coming back to a place of sanity? Or can it really change anything in our political frame?
Both.
Okay.
It is your right to protest. It's your right to be emotional.
Yeah.
It's your right to have an emotional response to it. And Trump has given reason for a lot of individuals to want to protest. For the women's march that's taking place on Saturday, he has made a lot of derogatory statements towards women. Women don't feel protected. They don't feel valued under what his rhetoric has been. Now, no one knows what his actions are going to be once he gets in there. But in terms of his rhetoric, and also, too, in terms of his appointees, it's not a diverse cabinet of women that are there neither. So they're marching for that reason. You have the Black Lives Matter movement, who is also marching for some of the rhetoric that we heard in his speech, in terms of a lot of the inner city talk, a lot of law and order, a lot of safety. What does that mean? Law and order is combative of the whole notion of blacks not letting their lives matter. So then you have that protest. You have immigrant groups protesting in fear of what does that mean for them and what is their status. So you have all these reasons, but then the effectiveness of it actually does work.
Right.
Well, let me rephrase that.
Because
it could be seen as effective to say that we're not just going to sit and take whatever you give, but you're going to have resistance. You're going to have oppositions, and what that does is it pressures, because everything becomes localized.
Right.
So it becomes pressure to on their local representative, the House Representative and the senators, to make sure they don't just go along to get along.
Right.
And so having that public out there is important. So protesting is a means of being effective.
Okay, got you. Because it reminds him that you exist and that there's issues that need to be on his priority list. Okay, so speaking of that, earlier this morning...
Oh, but wait, what's happening right here, Tracy?
Huh? Oh, I don't know. Oh, are we going to have some more words?
Let's see what's happening.
They just touched down from the cop?
Yeah.
The ceremony was too long and that he would catch up on it on the news. But in general in this country, there
Hold on, folks. We're going to find out what's happening.
Across the world, however, there was a lot of trepidation. Not everyone is excited as Russia.
Well, this guy's talking about Russia, but I'm trying to figure out what's happening with Obama. This is never normally planned.
Huh? Yeah. What is the plot twist, Mike Muse?
Whoa, wait. Is Obama about to give some remarks and speech?
So
folks, this doesn't happen.
Okay.
They usually go off into the sunset and then we're done. Because in the backdrop, what's happening right now is the congressional lunch is happening right now in the Capitol building. So that's where they are. But I am definitely surprised to see this. We normally don't see this. So I'm curious to see what's happening here.
That's a lot.
And if he's going to give any remarks. Hey.
Obama, man. It's okay. We know how dedicated you were to the gig.
Wow.
Put your feet on a sand.
Michelle is sighing. She's like she's having some difficulty with it. Wow, look at the First Lady. She's getting emotional.
Oof.
Wow, I think the moment is really hitting her. I mean, it's got to be emotional. You have been the First Lady of the United States of America and you hit a Star Spangled Banner. As for the first time, not the official representative of America.
They are the epitome
The
of grace.
former president joining a very exclusive and small club of former presidents. We expect him to make remarks here in just a moment before his family depart.
So we're gonna have some little bartering, some going back and forth.
This is the view on the right side of the.
So President Obama's gonna make some remarks, Tracy G.
Wow, I'm here for it. Step up to the mic, boy.
Yeah, this should be good.
So you said this has never. Look at Giuliani. So you said this has never happened before?
I don't want to say never, but I can't recall
Okay.
that this has happened.
It's not standard.
Yeah.
Hello.
Well, here we are, folks. Let's watch together.
You know, Michelle and I, we've really been milking this goodbye thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So it behooves me to be very brief. Yes. Yes. You know, I said before, and I will say again, that when we started on this journey, we did so with an abiding faith in the American people and their ability, our ability, to join together and change the country in ways that would make life better for our kids and our grandkids. The change didn't happen from the top down, but it happened from the bottom up. It was met sometimes with skepticism and
That's this man's
doubt.
voice.
Some folks didn't think we could pull it off. There were those who felt that the institutions of power and privilege in this country were too deeply entrenched. And yet, all of you came together. Small towns, big cities, a whole bunch of you really young.
Remarkable split screen moment. Former President Obama speaking on the right.
Doesn't it look
President
like
Trump
he's on
who's about to
set
sign some
for
executive orders, some
Yes.
official signing
the apprentice?
before attending a luncheon.
You didn't know how to pronounce Barack Obama. And I got to know each other. We went in their communities. That
This is a hell of a split screen, though.
You'd never even thought about business. And met people that on the surface seemed completely different than you. Didn't look like you or talk like you. Watch the same TV programs as you, and yet
It's gonna be interesting to see what do they do with the split screen. Do they turn up Trump's volume? They turn down volume on Obama? Like,
And
wow.
Uh-huh.
The news feed is confused right now.
Right.
They don't know what to do.
It's a tug of war.
Yeah.
As the signing begins, we'll take you forward to the room there where President Trump
I
is
love Trump's little boy,
about
though.
to put his signatures to some his
What a
first
cutie.
orders of business.
It wasn't naivete. It wasn't
What is his grandson?
willful ignorance to all the challenges that America faces. There was hope in the face of difficulty. Hope in the face of uncertainty.
What are they gonna do? Whose mic that goes up, whose mic goes down, Tracy
He
G?
ain't got no black people next to him.
And throughout this process, Michelle and I, we've just been your front men. And we have been
Wow.
the face, sometimes the voice,
Let's listen in now.
out front on the TV screen, in front of the microphone. But
Let's listen in now.
Wow.
Somebody
Trump wins.
Somebody made an executive decision.
Wow. So now what's happening, folks, now is that this is Trump's first order of business and signing some executive orders. We don't know what these orders are, but let's stay tuned and figure out what they are together.
Mac and cheese for lunch, Monday and Wednesdays.
Okay, you want to use a couple different pens.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
Who's got more?
So this is general practice, and that was a popular decision by everybody. Thank each other. That's your first
He
one.
is charming, though, in his own weird way.
General Harris is our first sign. Okay, we'll take that pen with it.
We need to figure out what is his first executive order.
This one I'm signing according to Texas folks. This is for Rex. I assume he was approved today.
It's coming though, right, Joe?
That pen got so much ink in it.
That's a great pen, by the way.
It looks like you added some letters in your name.
Yeah, it's hard to copy.
We believe what the president is signing now are really the official nominations for his cabinet picks. So these are his first executive actions.
We know for sure 2 cabinet secretaries are going to get confirmed today. Jim Mattis is Secretary of Defense. John
I mean,
Kelly
this is a special moment for him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like being around your family.
Pompeo, CIA.
You know, whether or not you agree with him being president or not, this
So human.
is the humanizing, the moment of it. What's happening right now, folks, is that they feel that the nominees have clear sailing that will be nominated for, will be approved for confirmation is Pompeo for CIA Director and Mattis for Secretary of Defense. Those seem to be some easy sailing. We still have to wait to figure out what we're going to hear from Tillerson and all the rest of them, but Mattis should be a clean, easy, no-brainer.
Okay. What are the pros and
confirmation.
cons of both of those folks?
Yes, so Secretary of Defense is General Mattis. He has been a strong soldier, has been a wonderful leader of our armed forces. He has bipartisan approval.
Okay.
Folks love him on both sides of the aisle.
Nice.
And individuals believe that he will bring a steadiness to President Trump's policy on how we handle foreign affairs militarily and our military engagement with that. Pompeo for CIA, he settled a lot of people's anxiety on whether or not Trump will investigate Russia. And what's come to pass is that Pompeo said that he wants to look into Russia for the investigation. So individuals feel comfortable around his nomination and being confirmed. The one to watch out for, though, is Tillerson. I don't think Tillerson's going to get it for Secretary of State. I believe what's going to derail his nomination is Senator Rubio. So what's happening now in what you're seeing what's happening in these hearings is there is a panel of 10, 5 Democrats, essentially 5 Republicans. They have to make it out of committee hearing. If the committee approves them, then they go on to receive the vote on the Senate floor. Well, the Republicans have the majority of the Senate floor, so as long as they have all the majority, they're going to be fine.
Okay.
But if Rubio votes no on Tillerson, he doesn't make it out of committee, which means that President Trump have to appoint another Secretary of State nominee.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the real one is Rubio. Rubio, you're going to watch. And what Rubio does, Tracy G, is going to send a signal to what does Rubio do next? Does Rubio go at it again? Many people believe that he came back to the Senate in order to retool and resharpen for the next 4 years. There's no question him and Trump do not have a warming relationship
At all.
And so that's essentially where we are. But that was a really big move in terms of how they took former President Obama off the screen in order to show current President Trump on the screen.
They had to respect, the changing of the guards,
You
the
had
passing
to.
of the torch.
I know that was a tough decision for those producers in terms of whoever is controlling these, because all these feeds that we're seeing, they're all coming from a general press pool feed.
Right.
So there's a general feed that is being populated to all of us in order to be able to talk about it. That was fascinating. Kelly, did anybody have anything to say about that on the YouTube channel regarding that?
Here, Mike.
Tracy G, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, the
Thank
most
you, thank you.
mutual feeling.
This is
You
great.
are the best of the best.
Tracy G,
This
tell them
guy
how they can
right
reach
here.
you.
Twitter, Instagram, citizens, you already know, but I'll tell you again.
Basically.
I don't mind the repetition. At It's Tracy G, ITS, ACYG, and also go to shesbeatingthebeast.com if you're feeling like you need your emotions rewired, if you need your sanity recharged. I got you. You did.
Boom, 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 boom. Thank you, Tracy G. It was
Yeah,
so
yeah,
fun
yeah.
chatting with you.
Same here,
And we're going to
bro.
follow that Lady Gaga and censorship.
Oh, yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's going to be interesting and fun to watch.
I'm looking forward to next week's political news.
Yeah, it should be good. Next week's political news will be really, really interesting.
Thanks for all you do, Mike.
No, thank you, Tracy G.
Someone asked, you stated that this is the first time a former president has been put in spotlight like this. What are the chances Obama could still have a place in the White House?
That's a really great question, man. The citizen asking some really good questions. There's not. Normally, every president goes off to the sunset and respects the current sitting president's position and what they have to go through. And they would tell you that the only one who has the most best accurate information is the current president. The former is no longer getting those daily briefings, so you're not up to date with that. President Obama has stated that he wants to take a break. Right, Tracy G? President Obama has stated that he is going to take a break. He's going to do a year of reflection and doing some writing and really collecting his thoughts. I'm sure he's going to write a book. But what's going to be interesting, though, is he will only come back into the White House if asked. It has to be on the current sitting president to invite any former president to come back for a visit or for any meetings. All presidents make themselves available to the other president for guidance and for counsel. But he's going to take some time off. I think what we're going to see him do is something different because he's still going to be in D.C. because, as you know, his daughter still has 2 more years left of high school. So they're going to stay in the D.C. area. So it's going to be difficult for him to stay outside the spotlight. So I'm sure he's going to be pressured to give comments. But we're going to see how he's going to handle that in terms of does he respond, does he give any comments. But we're going to see a lot of his action going to be done through his foundation, through the library. That's where we're going to see the center of power shift from the Oval Office to his foundation and to his library. Great question, though.
Nice. People are still rocking with us.
Oh, wow. Man, I'm so glad that you guys are enjoying this conversation. I'm enjoying talking to you guys. I'm enjoying breaking it down for you from this perspective. This is what America is about. For the good and bad, this is what it's about. This peaceful transfer of power, the pomp and circumstance, the pageantry that is American democracy exists. What we're not showing is, I'm sure what's happening is protests that are happening in D.C. There's going to be some protests going to be happening for the parade. So right now, as President Trump is signing his first executive order in terms of, signing off on his nominees, his nominations, there's a congressional lunch that is happening right now in the Capitol where all the congresspeople have come together for a lunch to celebrate and to toast him. So once he finishes there, he'll go down to the Capitol. This president was so excited to do work, he actually thought about skipping this lunch so he can go straight to the Oval Office to sign the executive orders. He is ready to undo whatever he can undo. He's an interesting one to watch in terms of his pacing. We have already seen, just in the transition period, how much he pushes through vis-a-vis Twitter, how much he pushes through in terms of stacking his nomination hearings on the same day for his nominees. We've seen how much he's done in terms of policy and legislation coming at us at one time. We've seen how much he has really jammed through the clutter of information in terms of GM versus Ford. We've seen what he's done for Boeing. We've seen what he's done regarding Boeing meeting for the cost of Air Force One. We've seen what he's done in terms of how he felt about the cost of remodeling our fired jets. So this guy has had a tendency and a pattern of really jamming things through. And so he wants to waste no time to get to the Oval to begin to act executive orders. What's going to happen is from now to the lunch, he's going to do a parade. And he stated, Kelly, that he's not going to stay at the parade long.
Wow.
His idea is to go straight to the White House and get to signing.
And how did you talk about how many more appointments does he have? Is there a certain time frame he has to appoint them?
Yes. That's a great question that you asked, because I want to be specific and exact.
Right.
But as of now, President Trump he needs to fill 690 Senate confirmation slots. Ask me how many he has named.
How many?
Only 30. He's only named 30 nominees for Senate confirmation. And so he has 660 left to go. What's unsettling about that is, so that is just for your top level. So what needs to happen now is our whole national directors of our national security team hasn't been fulfilled. And he can do that without having any Senate confirmation hearings. So what's troubling for a lot of people, now that he is President Trump, look, every administration, when they take office in the first hour, is difficult. Not every office is filled. Not everything is going as according to plan. They are historically behind the 8 ball when it comes to that, and the fact that they haven't filled these seats. The fact that we now have no national security directors is a problem. If something was to happen this afternoon,
Right.
there's no one in place from a security team or a national security team to handle that, right? In terms of something that's really of concern is our nuclear arsenal. He issued a statement, the transition team did. I don't know what it is about the division of him and the former now administration of Obama administration, but he asked that they all remove themselves by 12:01 today. As well as him doing that, individuals who need to leave, that are top directors, are overseeing our national nuclear arsenal. So now there is no one in charge of our nuclear arsenal program and our weaponry. That is a huge problem. And on top of that, he waited to the last minute to ask approximately 250 Obama appointees to stay. But he asked them yesterday. Can you imagine?
What?
Weeks ago, months ago, he told them they had to be out by 12:01. Then yesterday, when you realize you're behind the 8 ball, you asked them to stay, which a lot of them have said no. So we know what really runs the government is the deputy secretaries, the undersecretaries, and our directors. Those are really the COOs, right? Those are like the CMOs, right? Those are the CTOs, right? The chief of staff that really make government work. And if those aren't in position, who is running our government? Who is running our agencies?
So does
they are behind.
Does he have a time frame? Like, does he have to get it in by January 31st? You know,
great question.
Like that.
No, there's no time frame. There's no time frame at all. They say you judge the strength of a transition team by the first 100 days. So to be fair, we have to wait 100 days out to see where they are with that. How many nominations have gone through Senate confirmations? But also, too, how many people has he appointed that doesn't need any Senate confirmation hearings?
Right.
But we're at historic lows in terms of his ability to staff the agency. And the difficulty is a lot of individuals, they're having trouble finding good, qualified candidates who want to work for this administration.
Right.
So hopefully, for the sake of America, I hope they get it together, because having key agencies like that controls our nuclear arsenal being unattended is a problem. And he's going to be tested soon. I mean, it's just the nature of what's happening. The news cycle, there's always something happening across the world. And so if he's not ready and prepared for that, then we're in trouble with it. So it's going to be fascinating to see.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And you said, so Trump, as we're watching the luncheon, congressional luncheon, I had a question. So the congressmen and senators who didn't attend, are there repercussions for them not going to the inauguration or to the luncheon?
That's a great question. The repercussions is he doesn't forget. Trump has a way of remembering, and he has a way of attacking. What I mean by that is this, Kelly. We talked about this a little bit earlier, where I mentioned that President Trump has said that he wants to eliminate the National Endowment for the Arts and Humanities. That is a serious issue. The fact that you want to eliminate arts and culture in our country, you want to eliminate this entity that supports the advancement of arts and culture for our youth, one would say, is that in retaliation for Hollywood? Is that in retaliation for Hollywood being so anti-Trump? In terms of what we saw happen at the Golden Globes, in terms of majority of Hollywood generally tends to lean Democrat. We're going to see that come to light when the Oscar comes out. A lot of people are going to give speeches. They usually are political leaning. It's no different than what we heard at the Golden Globes. We saw what happened on Broadway in terms of now Vice President Pence. Where one would say that wasn't an attack, but they felt that it was a personal attack towards them.
When Vice President Pence went to Hamilton, and one of the actors made a statement on stage for him, towards him.
But he said that, we just want you to be our vice president and president for all of us, right? Who are on this stage representing this cloth the demographics that one would say Trump's rhetoric was very hostile towards him on the campaign. And so one would say, is this petty? Is this Trump being petty by him wanting to eliminate the arts? Is this retaliation?
Right.
So that's what I mean by he's taking notes of who didn't show up. And I think he's going to remember, and it's going to make it more contentious from that.
I like what K. Joe Unscripted said, bro. They need you on this show throughout the next 4 years to keep folks up in the political process.
Yeah. Thank you, KJ. I appreciate you, man. Yo, KJ, hit me up on Twitter, man, at I am Mike Muse. That's MUSE. And for all of us you that are out there that are commenting, we see you commenting like crazy. I just want to thank you.
Manny Davis said, you are awesome, Mike.
Thank you, Manny Davis. I appreciate you, brother. Hit me up on Twitter.
Baker.
What up, Justin Baker?
Thanks, Karina Dunn, Sigmeyer,
Dear
Dear Eartha. All of you guys have been on from the start.
Oh my God,
so
that's amazing.
Thank you guys for staying on with us.
Thank you.
This was our first one, and I'm so glad. I told Mike, I was like, Mike, we need to do something. We need to do this live stream.
Yep.
And, we stuck with it.
We did.
I thought it was important for the listeners because every Wednesday when I'm listening to you in the background, I get a lot of knowledge too. So I'm so glad you're part of this team.
Thank you.
And I thought today was such an important day because a lot of people are sad.
Yes.
A lot of people are indifferent. A lot of people don't know what to do. And I thought that being with you guys all this time while we're watching this, we could talk about it, share our feelings, and kind of get a game plan for how we're going to kind of exist in this new administration.
Which is important. Because I just want to thank you. I know we had a lot of technical difficulties in the beginning, but Kelly didn't give up. I appreciate you for saying that. That's Michigan. That's what that pledging it does too as well, making it happen at all costs under pressure. But it was important for us to do it. And look, we took a chance on this. We didn't do any dress rehearsal. We didn't do a run through. We're so busy just trying to make sure we can make it happen that we said, let's just try it. Let's just do it. So we thank you for sticking with us and being willing to tune on a little bit later than we know we wanted to start. But listen, as Kelly Kincaid said, this is our first one. We're going to do many, many more. And so I just want to thank you guys for following. It's going to get better and better. Mm-hmm. Keep the conversation going. Hit me up. Literally, hit me up at I am Mike Muse. That's MUSE. I know Sway likes for me to say across the board, but literally hit me up on Twitter. I am starting to think I'm getting more involved on Twitter. I'm going to start tweeting a little bit more frequently than I have, just because there's just so much to process.
Right.
It's happening so fast. So please hit me up, stay engaged. Let me know that you were paying attention to our YouTube live stream, and I'll definitely will give you more of a priority in a response. And hit me up on Instagram, and that's same I am Mike Muse, and on Snapchat and on Facebook. And Kelly, what about you?
Kelly Kincaid, KELLY, I know you hear Mike on Wednesdays. Check me out on Thursdays with First Aid with Kelly Kincaid. We talk about health issues, and it's going to be important for me to talk about the transition from Obamacare and what Trump is going to do. So I want to engage with everyone. If you have questions, we can find ways to kind of incorporate them in every time I'm on the air. Kelly Kincaid, KELLYKINKAID.
That's it. Thank you guys for listening, man. It's been an honor and pleasure to talk with you. Let's keep the conversation going. Hit me up on here.
All right.
Peace. We're about to log off. Thank you, guys. I'm going to keep talking until Kelly pushes pause and play so we don't have a hot mic scenario.
Word.